Hey everyone, Danielle here. My pronouns are she, her, and today is Wednesday, October 4th, pretty sure. And I am here to do a WIP parade. It has been a while since we have been face-to-face. I'm pretty sure that the last time I did face-to-face was my last WIP parade. I have really enjoyed and much prefer to do my Flosstubes, the vlog style, where I just show you my stitching and talk about my stitching, and I don't have to do this whole formal clean the table, set everything at the table, get the tripod set up, all this stuff. But it is, as you can imagine, very hard to show off nearly 20 projects in their fullness, like in that style, especially because there's a lot of like, get it out of the bag, put it back in the bag, have a stack of things. Like, I can't do that one-handed. So I thought that I would sit down to do a formal Flosstube / WIP parade. I like to do my, well, first of all, let me just say, if you are new here, thank you for joining, and I hope you see something you like and you'll stick around. If you are returning, thank you for your continued support and returning. I like to do my WIP parades around the anniversary of me starting my Flosstube channel. So now we're in I started this in 2021. So I've just ended 2 years of Flosstube, 3 years, a little over 3 years now of stitching. And I started my channel with a WIP parade, so that's why I like to do the WIP parade, you know, around the anniversary of that. And it's also why, because I did it in September, that's why I don't do like a beginning of the year, end of the year, beginning of the year, or a mid-year, because both of those time frames are like 3 months away from me doing like an anniversary WIP parade. So yeah, I've just never wanted to like change my schedule. So here we are. This WIP parade is a little bit later than I wanted it to be. First I had the Pacific Northwest Stitch Summit, and then I was kind of like, well, I'm about to start something for my birthday, so I should probably do a WIP parade after I've done my birthday start. So I've got all my WIPs in chronological order. I have my notes so that I know when I started a project. I have my iPad so I can show you pictures of what the project will look like when it's done. I'm not editing this unless my dogs go crazy barking or something. I'm not really gonna edit this. I have water, and I think that's all I need. So let's go. So the first WIP in my list, I just call this Christmas Deer. And because it's one of those like Russian kits with a Russian name, and all they named it other than something in Russian is cross stitch kit. But this is what the, land to that light's gonna, okay. Well, this is what it'll look like when it's done. Let me see if I can get, okay, there we go. That light above me is gonna be horrendous. So this was a gift from my husband. It was a full kit, and I love it. It's gonna take me 15 years to get it done. And I started this in May of 2021. I will probably pull it out again in the holiday season. I am stitching it with the called for floss, but not the called for fabric. There wasn't good margins on the called for fabric, and it was like, had a really bad fold line that I couldn't get out, but this is as far as I've gotten. It's really challenging to work on because there's a lot of blends. The strands are like super short strands, so I'm constantly having to change my needle. Also, I made a big mistake that I had to frog out of this thing. I made the mistake like the very first time I worked on it, and then by the time I found it, I hadn't worked on it in a while. So this piece is challenging, but I'm really happy that you can at least tell like that's a face. So that is where we are right now. Also, just while I'm putting this away, I have decided that I'm not going to keep my projects in Q-snaps anymore, because I just like, with how long it takes me to get back to a project, I'm just kind of paranoid about doing that. And so, but there are still a few that are on Q-snaps. So I apologize if I can't really show you like the full progress, but they're either on a Q-snap because I intend to work on them very shortly, or a couple are still on Q-snaps because I thought I was going to work on them at Pacific Northwest Stitch Summit. So a couple are definitely going to stay, but then after I do all this, I got to pull off the couple that I know that I'm not going to work on anytime soon in the future. Oh, and that fabric, I'm terrible at giving fabric information, FYI, but I'm pretty sure that was a Picture This Plus fog in 16 counts. So my next project I started in June of 2021. This is Trans Pride Tapestry by Uncanny Kari and D's 20 Stitches. This is what it'll look like when it's done. Get the light out of there. There, okay, we just need to tip the iPad forward. There we go. That's what we gotta do. So that is Trans Pride Tapestry. Again, I started it in June of 2021, although I did restart it later. What do you guys do about restarts? Like, do you count it from when you originally started it? Do you count it from when you restarted it? The June 2021 is my original date. And this is how far I am now. This is about 25% done. It is called for floss, and this fabric is, I got this in a D-stash. I cannot remember the information on it other than that it's a 28 count Jobelan. I want to say it was maybe like Fantasy hand dyed or something like that. I didn't recognize the company, and I don't think it had a name, but it's got these blue and pink splotches, and blue and pink are the primary, besides white, are the colors of the Trans Pride flag and colors. So that's what it is on. I tend to pull this out in June, or if I'm doing some kind of prompt for Stitch for Pride where I don't have something else that like qualifies. Next project, bit of a, oh, and you're gonna hear zippers probably, sorry. Bit of a note on this one. I'm showing you a mock-up of what my finished piece will look like. I no longer show the cover image for this or give the designer information because of cultural appropriation issues. This is what my finished product will look like, roughly. I started this in July of 2021. It's a project that I bought and kitted up when I was in Seattle. I went to Threadneedle Street, which is just east of Seattle, like 20 minutes. And this is how far I've gotten. This is on a color and cotton 32 count. I think the name was like Whimsical or Whimsy, something like that. It's a lot brighter blue in person. The camera's washing it out. And there's kind of like some pinkish, purplish splotches. You can see it a little better like that. But yeah. This was sort of to commemorate my whale watching trip where I got to see some orcas in the wild for the first time in my life. Just kind of been like a lifelong goal. I am a Pacific Northwest child. I grew up getting to go to the Oregon Coast Aquarium when Keiko from Free Willy was there, so kind of big into orcas. So this next project, I actually have two of these. And for both of them, it is true that I have not put any of my own stitches into this. So I may like further clean up my WIP list to reflect that this and the other one aren't WIPs yet. Like not till I do my own stitches. But so this is an inherited WIP that I inherited in September of 2021. I bought this in an auction for, it might have been the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women auction that Michelle from Bendy Stitchy, Erin from Two Martini Stitcher, like Rachel Ray from Rachel Ray Craft, and a lot of other, Alicia from Resist Stitch. A lot of other like Instagrammers and Flosstubers do a marathon every year for that cause. But it is called, I think it's called like With Needle in Hand. This piece is by Hello from Liz Matthews, and it was for Acorns and Threads 25th anniversary, 25th anniversary event that they did. Like I said, I basically bought this WIP. I'm terrible. I haven't put any of my own stitches into it yet. This is all Michelle Bendy Stitchy's work. I need to desperately scan the pattern. That's a lot of why I haven't worked on this, is because I desperately need to scan the pattern, and that way I can work on it digitally, which is about the only way that I work on anything. This is on an Aida. It looks like it's 16 count Aida. Other than that, I don't remember. Wasn't my WIP. I didn't buy the kit, so I don't have very good information on it. But yeah, I do need to, oh yeah, Needle in Hand by Hello from Liz Matthews. Desperately need to scan that pattern and put some stitches into it. It's not that big of a project. Next, so these next two are all I have left from my birthday starts in 2021. I started 5 things for my birthday. I've either abandoned or finished the rest. I think it was like 2 abandons and 1 finish. But this is the Nutcracker by RETM. Where's the photo of what it will look like when it's done? There it is. That is what it'll look like when it's done. It is massive. It is somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 to 35,000 stitches. I would love to digitize this one, but it will take a long time to do that. This is one that is in the Q-snap, so I apologize. My thinking is like, if I already have it well in the Q-snap, especially because this, as you can see, is like a lot of bulky fabric, then I'm gonna keep it in the Q-snap until I fill the Q-snap, which is typically when I move on from a project, and then I'll take it off. But I have the, let's see, if you saw in the cover photo, there's like a medallion with an initial in it. There's a big red flower. There's a couple of yellow flowers. There's a medallion with a bird in it. And then there's this like blue, you can just see the end of the blue stuff. And then I want to stitch the whole ballerina. There's a big medallion right here. A medallion next to her legs. So that would be like next on the list of what I want to stitch. This will probably come out during the holiday season. And again, I started that in September of 2021. This is definitely a Picture This Plus, but I don't remember what color 16 count Picture This Plus. I am really bad with recording fabric information. If I don't have a tag that is stickered or stapled to the fabric, it's not, the information isn't being saved. So this next project is called Foxglove. It is by Nora Corbett. Again, I started this is the one I actually think I started on my birthday. I didn't actually start 5 projects on my birthday. I did it like the week of my birthday because I like to stitch on something. It was actually kind of wild for me to stitch on something different every day for 5 days. I don't do that. So, but what I did was when I started, I gave them each 1 night of progress. And so this is what she will look like when she's done. She's gorgeous. I love her. This one is kind of extra special to me because my friend gifted me the funds to kit this one up, and I went ahead. This bag isn't like the best bag, but I found this Foxglove fabric on Etsy, and I had a friend make me this bag. She just didn't really understand like what a cross stitcher wants in a bag. So like there's no, it's very floppy. There's no like structure to it. But it's a special bag nonetheless. And this is just the called for 32 count Lugana, or no, Jobelin, 32 count white Jobelin. I should have done her on a fancy fabric, but she's she's way too far along now to be changing that information up. So there she is. Every time I work on her, I really enjoy working on her. I just, as with most of my projects, I tend to only get to them about once a year, unless it's something that I start and finish, you know, relatively quickly. I only pull something out about once a year because I have too many long-term WIPs. Too many long-term WIPs. Okay, next up, and we're actually getting, I'm a talker, so I'm surprised I'm getting through this quickly. The next one is called Spirits of the Dead by Modern Folk Embroidery. This photo that I'm about to show you isn't totally accurate, and I apologize, it's on the Q-Snap because I'm definitely going to be working on it in October, so I'm keeping it on the Q-Snap for now. This is the project, but I'm doing the inverted version for dark fabric. So up in this upper part, instead of seeing all that brown fabric and having all those black stitches, I'll be having a lot of dark fabric and a lot of white-ish stitches. I'm using DMC Ecru because I couldn't settle on a fancy floss, and plus I needed like 5 skeins and didn't feel like paying like $20 for fancy floss when I already had enough Ecru. I started this in October of 2021. I've worked on it that October, and in October of 2022, I have this whole other side done. I just have to repeat the big vase and motifs and stuff over here. And then all I'll have left is actually the quote. So my goal this year would be to finish this part right here, and then hopefully next year this whole thing could be, hopefully next year this whole thing could be a finish, because like those words should go fast. And then at the bottom there's a full coverage band with the negative space being Edgar Allan Poe and birth year or death year, one of the two. And this is a 14 count. It was supposed to be 16 count, so cross your fingers for me that I can get to the bottom. I can obviously get to the side because this is the edge. 14 count, it was dyed by the Steel City Stitchers. I got it in a box. So this is definitely coming out this month, and then I'll take it off the Q-Snap. Tried to pull a skein of floss out with it. We're gonna start pile number 2 because pile number, well, can pile number 1 take some more? Yeah, this next one probably. This next one is kind of an interesting story. In October of 2021, I started this piece for my husband. It is Sleepy Hollow by Glendon Place. Have not worked on it since October of 21, so it's been 2 years since I touched this. Part of my problem is, here, let me show you what it's gonna look like, and then I'll show you or tell you kind of what my plan was. So I don't really like this border, and I kind of thought to myself, it would be really cool to like stitch the quote separately from the horse and then have it framed in the same frame, but like with a mat between the two. And then, so for that, I was like, well, I kind of like the border for the quote, but I don't like the border for the rest of the piece. So I've been kind of in this like weird place about that. Also, I don't really like how Glendon Place prints their charts. They, in order to like, I guess, save on paper or save on the to make it the most like space efficient you could possibly make it, she like kind of hacks up the chart in a way that really makes it, at least to my brain, especially because I don't work off paper, like unreadable. So because I do have charting software, I would really like to chart this. The problem is it's gonna take me like a week to chart this. It's gonna take so long to chart this. Even scanning it and trying to piece it together has not really been helpful. And then I just don't know that I want to do the quote anymore at all. So let me show you what I did manage to stitch on it the one time that I stitched on it. And it's on a separate piece of fabric because again, if I do this, I will have them like separated. But this is what I had managed to do so far. And again, this was going to be to frame the quote, but I may just abandon that part altogether. Or because, so I have another piece of fabric, which this is 14 count, picture this plus haunted, which is the called for. Yeah, picture this plus 14 count, quarter yard. Actually doesn't say haunted on here. Oh, okay, it just got cut off. But yeah, so I have this big piece, and I think this piece would be big enough that if I decide to put the quote after I'm done stitching, then I could. Pretty sure it's big enough to do that. So this, the entire reason I would be doing this project is for my husband. So I feel kind of bad, like being like, nope, abandon that. But it's a lot of work. I don't know. It was one that I kind of got swept up in, like wanting to stitch it, but maybe I just don't want to stitch it bad enough. Okay, that's the last of the 2021 WIPs. Next we have Arctic Dream, charted by Heaven and Earth Design. I cannot remember, oh, it should be on the picture, maybe? No, I can't remember the artist's name. But this is what it'll look like when it's done. And you ready for this blazing start, y'all? I gotta even check which way is up. Blazing start. I think there's like 555 stitches in this thing so far. What's nice, part of why this is staying on the Q-snap, even though this isn't like an unmanageable amount of fabric, I can actually get the full width of the piece in here, so we're just gonna keep it on the Q-snap. But yeah, I basically worked on this for one like session. I call a stitchy session like from me picking it up to me deciding that I don't want to work on it anymore. So that might be a day, that might be a week, it might be, I think maybe the longest I've worked on a project is 2 weeks since I've been kind of not a monogamous stitcher anymore. But yeah, and that was on, that one's on 28 count, easy grid, probably Zweigart. This next one I started in August of 2020. Oh, I don't know if I said it. July of 2022 was when I started Arctic Dream. This one I started in August of 2022. It is called Moonglow, also by Nora Corbett. This is what she'll look like when she's done. This is part of a SAL with Allie from Misfit Stitches called #EmbraceTheFold SAL. Hydrate. And I picked a 16 count Mystic fabric. I think it's called In the Depths, in the Deep, in the something, I don't know. But this is how far I am. I think I'm like 30% done. It does show up better in person. Those dark leaf colors are getting a little lost when you pull it back a little bit. But yeah, like I'm almost done with the top part, like what I could fit in the Q-snap. I was almost done. There's some more like doodaddy things over here, some more of the leaf that I can come down, but most of the rest of like her is backstitch, and I'll go back later to do that probably because I don't want the backstitch to get too caught up under the Q-snap. It's kind of complicated backstitch, so I don't mind short runs of backstitch to be put under the Q-snap. but I don't want longer strands to get put under the Q-snap, and some of those strands might span 3 or 4 squares. Okay, next is called Forest Home. It is by The Blue Flower. I started this in September of 2022 when I was at Penwest last year. This was one of our retreat kits. It's gorgeous. I just put in a good week on it, just a little bit ago before I started my birthday start. I've been working on the waterfall, which is almost done to the point that I can have it in the Q-snap. It goes down quite a bit beyond that. This is the linen that was provided in the kit. I don't really like it that much, but it's like an XJU Designs 36 count. I'm stitching it 2/1, so it's kind of puffy, but it's not as puffy. I don't normally like 2-strand stitching, but I also hate 1-strand stitching, like in general, and I don't think there's enough coverage on 18/36. And this linen is pretty loose, so I'm actually able to do the 2-strand stitching. But yeah, so this is as far as I've gotten on that. It's a big project. It's gonna take a while. Yeah, gave fabric information, gave start date information, showed you what it looked like. I feel like I'm flying through this, y'all. Normally I talk so much, but we're doing good. I'm almost to page 2, which page 2 is not very, it's half a page. This next one is also from September of 2022. I would have started this one first, but the linen that came in the kit, I couldn't work on that linen. It is called Beachcomber by Lindy Stitches. Oh, I didn't show you what it'll look like when it's done. I was getting ahead of myself there. Okay, this is what it'll look like when it's done. This is so cute. I love it so much. I started it when I got home from the retreat, and I've worked on it a couple times since then because it is kind of a favorite, I would say. I'm stitching it on a 16 count picture that's plus dapple. I want to say that it's dapple. I, however, call it coastal gray because part of why I picked it was because it is like the perfect, like we're often gray in the Pacific Northwest at the coast. And so to me, I call it coastal gray because I think it reminds me of the clouds at the coast. So I'm almost done with this top part. You can see that like this whole little thing I have to put over here, and there's some more doodads up here, and then I'm supposed to put a zip code. She put the zip code for acorns and threads in here. I might put the zip code for my favorite coastal town, which is Seaside, Oregon, but like I think something needs to go there, but I'm not sure what. So then it'll be I'll take it off the Q-snap because I don't know when I'm going to work on it again. But like the next step would be the big quote box in the middle. I really like that piece a lot. I was really fortunate that the pieces that I got from that retreat, I just loved so much. Okay, next one, also a weird situation. It's like a restart that I haven't restarted yet, but this is going to be trimming the tree from Bendy Stitchy Designs. And I had gotten this red piece of fabric, and I was like, that fabric, I just thought that the fabric was screaming for that design. However, when I started it, and I did get a good like 400 something stitches in, this was just too difficult to work on. I cannot seem to work on opalescent even weave. I can work on opalescent Aida, but so this is a Lugana 32 count by Live or Die LA in the color, I'm pretty sure poinsettia. Bad name. I can't remember the indigenous name for it, but we should all be calling those plants by its indigenous name. But that is the name of the fabric, unfortunately. So I asked Valerie over there to dye me. I think I got this in a grab bag, and I asked her to dye me a piece of Lugana in the same color but non-opalescent. So when I restart it, which will probably be this holiday season, this is what I'm going to be using. And I'm hoping that this can just be a start and finish, because it's not that big. But I might get too tired of the white stitching, so it might linger into the next year. But oh, and I didn't say, I started this in December of 2022. And I think had it not been for the fabric, it would have been a start and finish. But so I have this waiting to go for when I do restart it. Okay, that's the last of the 2022 WIPs. So everything else is from this year, 2023. The first thing that I started in 2023 that I have not finished is called What Remains Is Love. I mean, I'll show you this picture, but it's not going to look anything like this when it's done. Just saying. So this is by Blackbird Designs, and I am stitching this in honor, in memory of my grandmother. I am stitching it on a 32 count Jobelin by Bestitch Me. I'm pretty sure that the color is called Saturn. Oh, gosh, I love it. Every time I see it, I love it more. I just worked on this in September, so about a month ago. I added a lot. I took out like 500 stitches, restitched them because I was having some color issues with what I picked. You can see, like I said, it's gonna look nothing like that cover photo. And I'm 60% done with this, I think. I'm over 50% done, pretty sure. I can't remember exactly, but yeah, so really love this. And at the bottom, I'm gonna put her birth year, I'm gonna put her initials. I wanna change a couple birds to a little dog and a little cat to represent her animals. I'll be pulling this out again for her birthday, which is in January. And maybe I could finish it, but I feel like for sure by next year in September, it should be a finish, because between her birthday and the anniversary of her death, I feel like I can finish that piece. It's about 3,300 stitches left, I think. So that's only, if I work on it 2 more times, that's only having to do about somewhere between 1,700 and like 1,700 each. That's not bad. So the next piece that I started in also January of 2023, that's not finished yet, but it will be finished soon. I don't have my piece to show you because it is a round robin, so it is in the hands of somebody else right now, but I can show you the piece that I will be working on in the month of October to get this round robin finished. And this is called Wings and Things by Ink Circles. We're all doing an Ink Circles piece. Wait, which way is up? Yeah, that way is up. So we're all doing an Ink Circles piece. This is a 14 count. I think it's from, she said it's from Stony Creek with no name, using a hand dyed by Rolanda for the purple to black variegated, using DMC Etoile and Glow in the Dark for the web. And my piece currently sits at this stage 3/4 done, and I will have it back no later, probably in December, but probably no later than in January. So yep, this is going to be first on the docket after I'm done working on my current WIP, which we're getting closer to. After I'm done working on that, I'm going to start working on this and bust it out and get it shipped to Canada hopefully before Halloween, because I want to avoid the like holiday rush on shipping. The shipping to and from Canada has gone so smoothly this year that I'm like, we need to, like, I want it out of my hands into Canada before the holiday rush. Okay, this next piece, also January of 23, is called Snack Bar by Lindy Stitches. So cute. This was the Acorn Gathering piece. I started it at the day retreat. It is a retreat, but it's only for a day. It's in the shop from 10 to 4. And I think, I don't know, I think I started it because like it is cute and I do want to stitch it, but like next year I'm gonna have to be like, oh, do I really want to start? I don't know. But this is what I got done on that day. Again, this is one that I desperately need to either scan it or recreate it in my charting software. But I just started on the bigger bear, his feet and his bottom. I was outlining so that then I could fill in. So this is a 32 count vintage rose Lugana by Zweigart. It is super tight. I would say that if I was gonna get one of these again, because I do have a couple in my stash that are like this, I would go for 28 count because it's so tight. Or I would hate to do one strand stitching, but so I think 28 count. If you like a little bit of a looser, then I wouldn't go, then I would do 28 count. The next thing I started, or the next WIP for 2023, I started in May of 2023. This was an interesting piece. So it's Caroline Manning. This is called Spring Lilacs. It's actually part of a 4 set, but I'm just doing this one. So it ends up only being like 83 by 83 instead of, you know, 160 whatever by 160 whatever. So she sells a lot of charts in this like four chart configuration where you can stitch the whole thing or you can just stitch one of the 4. And what had happened was I had a Caroline Manning piece that I started back on my birthday in 2021. So it was one of those 5 that I talked about earlier. And it was one of her full size, like 170 something by 170 something. It would have been like 34,000 stitches or something when it was done. And when I went to pull it out to work on it for Manning May, I found a mistake, and I only had about 600 stitches into the piece. I would have had to take out half of the stitches. And I was like, you know what? Honestly, I would rather restart it than spend my time taking out 300 stitches. And then as soon as I had that thought, I was like, I don't want to restart this project. Like, I don't want it bad enough to restart it. So I decided to go pick a smaller WIP. I don't know if you heard my dog scratching on the door. They don't need out, they just need my undivided attention. I decided to go pick a smaller project from her website and just start a new project. So this will only be like 7,000, maybe close to 8,000 stitches when it's done. And this is how much I have. I am about 27% done with it. I kind of even it up like this because I thought it might be part of a round robin next year. Turns out it won't, so I can work on it at my leisure now whenever I feel like it, and I can go wherever I want and do whatever I want because I don't need to keep like clean quarter. You can see like, because I'd gone out this way and down this way before thinking, oh, that might be part of a round robin. So, but now I can do whatever I want. But I will probably like 95% be starting a new Caroline Manning in January because my team for the round robin would like to stay together, but I'm probably not going to do another ink circles piece. But I was really excited to do a Caroline Manning round robin, but one of my team member people cannot do the 16 count. Speaking of that, it's on a 16 count by Fortnite Fabrics in the colorway Cool, but she can't do 16 count. So I will probably do a new piece on 14 count. Okay, we're down last 3. This one is called Move Forward in Love by Modern Folk Embroidery, Jacob. This is what it'll look like when it's done. Love this piece. I started it in June of 2023 and only worked on it, you know, for one session. And this is where we're at right now. This is a 16 count mystery pink Ada, but I just couldn't get over the pink mock-up. Like that just felt right to me. So besides like the burbs and a couple more like flower and leaves and stuff, I've mainly got the top, this like top quarter done, but I'm gonna probably keep doing medallion stitching. It's still on the Q-snap because I did take it to Pacific Northwest Stitch Summit, but I didn't work on it, so. This next project is my second and final inherited WIP. I don't have a picture on the iPad, but I have the pattern. When I was at Acorns and Threads in August for WIP Wednesday, Janine, the shop owner, had put out like boxes and boxes and boxes of all of the stash from a lady named Nancy, who'd been very well known in the Acorns and Threads community, and she passed away very suddenly apparently, and her family said, you know, please Janine, have all of her stuff and get it into the hands of stitchers. So this was a WIP that Nancy started, and I found it in her stash, and when I show you like how much is already done, you're gonna be mind blown. So this is the WIP. It's by Glendon Place, and these flowers are Birds of Paradise, and it's hard to tell from the cover photo, but there's like a lot of beading, and that's all that is left to do is beading. So I'm going to show you what Nancy did. It is on a linen, but I think I'll be okay because the holes are nice and big. I can see them, and all that's left to do is the beading. I have still yet to bead a project, but like I have grand plans. I can't remember which way is up. The cover, this way is up. So look at that, y'all. She did all of that stitching. Every floss cross is done. It's just beads that are left. So basically, like in this entire like border right here for all the way around, there's beads, and then in these like center, there's a big flower in the center that's beads, and then like in between all these flowers there's like little circles of beads. So all that's left is beading. Yeah, I couldn't not take it. It needs to be finished in her honor. And this is something like I own one of these mandalas already that I haven't started. It's in my kitted up projects, and it's a hibiscus one, and I did seriously look at this one, but I like the hibiscuses better, so I'm really honored to have this, and I do want to finish it in her honor. But that is another inherited WIP, and I inherited it in August of 2023. And now we're on the last WIP. I did this in under an hour, y'all. So this is called My Home in the Garden by Hello from Liz Matthews. I have loved this pattern for a long while, and I always kind of knew, I was like, if I'm gonna stitch this, I'm gonna do it called for, which is called for Gloriana silk, and because it's just so pretty and lovely. And when I was deciding on what to start for my birthday this year, I didn't do a birthday start last year. I hadn't done any since, 2 years ago. Part of why I decided to start this one was because I actually had kind of the called for fabric. The called for fabric is 36 count linen from Bestitch Me in the colorway Not Another Sampler. And I knew that was a really popular colorway from Brandy. So I was like, you know what? I probably have that in my stash. And I do. But it's 32 count Jobelin. But this is how far I've gotten so far. I'm not quite done with it yet. I want to finish filling the Q-snap. So what I want to do is I want to take my yellow border out. I can fit one, maybe two flowers here, and I can fit one, I think just one more letter here. I can't fit a full row down here, so I'm not going to start that row. So I have a few more days of work on this before I take it off the Q-snap and move on to the ink circles. So yeah, and this is so, This might be the prettiest thing I've ever stitched. I am doing it almost all called for. Let me show you my flosses, which, oh, that's kind of a mess. So this is actually a different, this one isn't called for. And then this blue is not called for. I subbed the yellow, and this is actually supposed to be a green that I just didn't really like. And on the cover it looks blue, so I wanted blue. But yeah, that is all the called for floss pretty much, except for my 2 substitutions. And that is, if we can get this back in the bag. So that is my last WIP that I just started a few days ago on my birthday, September 29th, 2023. So that brings my total to, I have 19 WIPs. 2 of them are inherited with no personal stitches put into them. And 2 of them, while they're technically WIPs, they're kind of restarts. So, you know, like WIPs, like true WIPs, I have 15. I feel like the other 4 I might take off my WIP list until I actually either put my own stitches in or restart them. So, but yeah, that's it. That's all I have for you for this video. I hope you enjoyed seeing all of my works in progresses. I know I only get each one of these out like close to once a year between all the other little like starts that I do. I was just counting, and in just 2023, I have started like 21 things, and only 6 of them are still WIPs. So just from that, you can surmise I start a lot of things that I finish fairly quickly, and these other projects do not get the love and attention that they so deserve. But yeah, so that is all for you for this video. I will see you probably in a couple weeks with a regular Flosstube. And again, thank you so much for being here, watching, liking, commenting, subscribing, doing all those good YouTube things that the algorithm likes. And I will see y'all in the next one. Bye.